they offer, it's just unreal. So, yeah, we were both really impressed. So,
Good.
and she is definitely passionate about her work. So,
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're able to be there, because I
Yeah.
saw that Commissioner Lopez had COVID, and I saw that Nikki couldn't be there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I really hope.
somebody should.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great tour.
And I'm gonna be finding out if we're gonna be having the cab next week, because I was under the impression that yesterday was the cab meeting for
Oh,
tonight.
see, and that's why I understood it too, because, and I said something last night, I said, oh, she asked, she said, do you all need to do hold a business type meeting or anything before? And I said, the two of us? No.
Yeah.
And I knew that you had sent out minutes and to approve, and on the agenda it was to approve, and I thought, well, there's nobody here.
We have one. All right, I got a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Going around the horn, everybody good?
So Wi-Fi password?
Wi-Fi password?
Is it Sedgwick one?
Munger.
We need to see if that still works.
It worked for me.
It did?
Yeah.
Okay.
With a capital M.
MUNGER, capital M. Save for password.
Okay.
And then just as a reminder too, to please turn on and use your mics when you speak. Please, thank you.
For good? Everybody got food? Everybody got packets? All right.
Everybody ready?
Got 'em ready.
Okay.
Good afternoon. The time is 12:08, and we are going to go ahead and call to order this meeting for the Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee. This is the third of our meetings. I want to thank each of you for taking out of your time here this afternoon. I know you have very busy schedules, so to have you here with us to have this final round of contemplation is exceptional, and we really appreciate it. I am Patrick Penn, as you know, the chair for this, and our pro tem is Ms. Melody McCray-Miller. And we have an agenda before us here today that we'd like to get started on. The first piece of it is the consideration of the minutes for our last meeting, which was held on November 30th, 2021. That said, I will turn it over to Ms. Tanya Cole for the reading of those minutes for our consideration and vote and approval.
Chairman, do you want me to go through this verbatim or just cover the highlights?
If you could please go with the highlights, the wave crests, in the
Okay.
interest of time, I appreciate it.
Okay, so meeting was called to order. We had consideration of minutes. There was an amendment to those minutes of November 23rd. We had the public agenda where we had the public comments. We had new business, which was the rules of the redistricting committee, which was presented by Assistant County Councilor Michael Fessinger. We had the down selections of the redistricting maps, and that left maps 2, 3, 4, and 6. And then at that point, we adjourned the meeting.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cole. I have no comments on it. I find it sufficient, but at this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to the pro tem for any comment that she may have.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine with the minutes also.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, that said, let's go ahead. Do we have a motion? Oh, I have a hand. Ms. Shoto? Yes, please.
Despite what some people, maybe from elementary school, might tell you, my last name is not Shodork.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
So we might need to fix that.
Where you at? I saw it correct
Not the
here.
first time I've heard that, though. And then,
Is it printed in here?
yes. I just noticed it right here. I don't know if it's anywhere else.
Oh,
So
I was a little too
that
fast. I
clarification.
apologize.
And I just wanted to note from last week, and I think Chair Penn and I seemed to come to a mutual understanding towards the end of the meeting. But my comments weren't to say that one was the best because there's 40% of this minority community in that district. My comments were statistics straight from the Wichita Eagle article to say, okay, this could be a benefit, this could be a detriment. Does this give this community of interest a strong vote? I don't know, let's look at the other maps. Let's compare and contrast. They were never to say, yes, packing a district to protect Pete Meitzner district is better than anything else. I'm not here to protect Pete. I don't know why anybody would think I would be here to protect Pete. So I just wanted to clarify that I was just reporting the statistics to say, let's compare and contrast these. Let's look at all the maps, and that's it.
And duly noted, and thank you for that explanation as well, Ms. Shorter. Can we make sure that we get that paragraph changed, that typo there, please?
We'll make that amendment.
Fantastic. And I don't think that the chair or anyone else in here, ascribes intent. I don't think that the chair or anyone in here, I would hope not, in accordance with the rules, ascribes intent to any comments that are made. I don't see it that way to protect any commission or commission district. And if that's how I came across, my apologies, because I don't think that was the intent there. It's just that there's a bone in my craw when it comes to that particular phraseology, and that was the only thing that I was addressing. So I thank you for the grace in understanding that. Are there any other comments on or adjustments that need to be made to or corrections to the minutes that anyone from the body sees? Okay. That said, can we get a motion to approve the minutes as written, as amended?
I motion.
We have a motion, and we have it properly seconded by Con Howerton. Thank you, Ms. Shodor. Let's go ahead and vote this in and keep moving.
Yes. Yeah, and I actually will go around to my left before I use the roll, but, so thank you. Lamont Anderson.
Aye.
And Leanne Moore. Randy Rathman. Joseph Dozier.
Aye.
And last name, I can't see. I see the Keith. Keith Dater.
Aye.
Elizabeth Stanton.
Aye.
And Bill Priesting.
Thank you. Aye.
I've been practicing. And Michaela Pack.
Aye.
Martha Pine.
Aye.
Cole Howerton.
Aye.
Levi Henry.
Aye.
Casey Yingling.
Aye.
And Kelly Shodor.
Aye.
Chair Penn.
Aye.
And Pro Tem votes aye.
Okay, as a general housekeeping note, the team has asked if we could please speak into our microphones, make sure that they're in the on position so that it can pick up our voices for the streaming. I ask you to please monitor that as appropriate. That said, this has been approved into the record, and we will move forward now to our public agenda. Ms. Cole, I believe at this point right now what we want to do is look at the comments that were submitted by the public via the website. Do we have printouts of that as well?
We do, Chair. Before you, we have a printout of the public comments. Let me speak to that a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
We have in front of you 70 comments that we pulled from our website. The first 6 comments are the comments you received at the last meeting. We have gone in and corrected those commissioner districts with the U and placed the districts from where these folks are making their comments from. So you'll see that they now list their commissioner district as Ms. Yingling asked that we take care of. So that what remains then are 64 new comments, and we cut off the comments as of today at 10 a.m. so we could put the staff report together for you.
Okay. And for the body, you've had the opportunity to see these comments as of last week, the first pages, we said the first 6 rather, and we've had the opportunity to see these online. I don't know if you've accessed it or not. I'll give you an opportunity here now to take a look through and peruse it and open it up for any discussion of the comments that may move you a certain way. Is there, Madam Pro Tem, is there anything in particular that you'd like to highlight out of the comment sections?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that I would like to highlight, it won't be specific comments that are made by residents. It's just going to be looking at how it is that we as a voting public voice our opinions and voice our thoughts. So being able to give everyone within Sedgwick County that wanted to take the opportunity to share their comments, I think was nothing but positive. And I appreciate this. What I wanted to say to each and every one of you that actually did take the time, because it takes time, for one thing, to read the maps. It takes time then to put together your thought process, and then it takes a will for you to actually write it down and send it to us. So I appreciate the fact that we received as many as we have. And I also have to, be one that will say what it is that I'm seeing. And I'm seeing an overwhelming response from individuals that do not want us to split up Riverside in particular. So that would more often than not speak to maps 3 and 4. So once again, I just wanted to be able to raise and heighten the concern that I heard, read, and felt from residents that were very adamant about communities that are in kind, being able to have that connection, to not make that change. So thank you once again for those of you that actually responded. And then the other thing that I heard that someone had mentioned to me, and that is, if all things were as they should, we would not see as many lines as we do gerrymandering. I mean, that is a term that is thrown and that is used to preface or make a preferential for one district over another. So we should be able to also keep that in mind, that it's all about not only the power of the vote, but the power of individuals that are, comfortable and are doing what it is that they feel is not only appropriate, but is in the best interest of their district. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll pass it back to you.
I think those are some very insightful comments from the pro tem. And as I read through the comments that came in from the public, just a simple perusal, it seems that you have your thumb directly on the pulse of the community. I would love to open this discussion up around the horn, starting with Mr. Anderson, if you have any other comment for what we're seeing out here as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So definitely I would say that the reason why we're all here is because of engagement. And I definitely second that the folks in the Indian Hills and Riverside area have spoke. And I think that it's important for us to look at those comments and to be able to honor those wishes. When we look at some of the struggles that we're coming out of a community, one of the biggest struggles I feel that we have discussed on this community is truly identifying common interests. And some of us have relied on our personal experiences. Some of us have relied on particular folks to make comments, but we have folks directly from these neighborhoods that are expressing their interest and their desires and their common interests. And I think that that's important. And I think that that's something that we need to hold together. We are a community that continues to come out of COVID, and to allow communities that have found commonality, true commonality, not based upon theory or something that we believe, but they are expressing and saying, we're working together, we've been working together, we are a unit. That's important going forward, because we are a government for the people and by the people, and when the people speak within that, with that type of power, we should be protecting those people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Matt.
No comment.
Mr. Rattler.
You know, honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing on this committee. I am not a numbers guy in the slightest. I just barely made it through college algebra. But I am kind of a concept guy, and I can tell you I spent the 80s in Riverside, and I just loved living in Riverside. And I was always so, people would ask you where you live, and I was not an East Sider, and I was not a West Sider, I was Riverside. And Riverside is a very cohesive unit in this town, and they're very proud to live in Riverside. And so The only thing this is really the only thing I much care about on these maps, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but I don't see a whole lot of difference in any of this, other than I hate splitting up Riverside.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dozier.
I'd like to echo the comments of Lamont. I'd also like to say that it's notable, the overwhelming, I think it was like 90% request to reject outright, not even amend maps 3 and 4. The other thing that was notable that stood out to me was seeing two very respected activists in our community, including both who were here last week, Judah and LaWanda, both, I believe, I don't know, maybe I'm assuming this wrong, but I believe, knowing Judah and LaWanda, there are different ideological backgrounds, persuasions politically, and it was notable to see that they have both recommended a particular map in the comments themselves, and LaWanda being on the District Advisory Board in District 1 in the City of Wichita, and Judah being the CAB chair for District 1 on the commission, so that stood out to me as well.
Yeah, I think last week there were comments about get the word out, because we want more public comments, so that was heard, so that's awesome seeing that. So, and just to echo, I mean, yeah, it looks like most of the comments are about Riverside splitting it up. 3 and 4 maps are a concern for folks. So, again, commend you for getting out the word. So.
As I read through the comments, overwhelmingly, it was 3 and 4 that looks problematic for Riverside. And as a committee, I think we definitely need to take the public's opinion into our consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Friesen.
Yes, sir. I'll only just say I just am impressed by the number of Riverside comments there, District 4 comments.
I too agree that the communities of interest that we spoke about was amplified in these comment section, and it was powerful that residents in other commission districts that are not for with Riverside and Indian Hills did as well speak to keeping those communities of interest together, because they permeate into other districts as well. They see that they are unified, and dividing that may not be the best. And it also resonated with me that there perhaps in our maps that would solve those problems, and to be a voice of our residents in these districts, it would be important to look at that.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Martha.
So I was the one that reached out and made that plea that hopefully we would receive more public comment. And I was totally gratified and impressed with the way people turned out. I watched the comments as the week rolled by. And so I read each one, went through, made notes, printed them off, made my own notes. They seem to fall in one of two categories. Either they spoke to maps in particular, or they spoke to our process. So while everyone else has spoke to the maps, and I agree, my 3 and 4 to me are problematic. The process, and this is something I know, Chairman, that you spoke to earlier, that while we're making we're putting forth one map, potentially some, runners up, but also those additional recommendations. I hope these comments go into those recommendations, because the reality is, in case those of you aren't aware, the county's not obligated to wait another 10 years to do a redistricting. They could do one in 6 months, or 2 years, or 7 years, or at their will. They're obligated to do one every 10, but they can do them in between as well. So with that in mind, this has been out there, bandied about. If they were to go to 7 commissioners, obviously that would require redistricting. The process needs to be established. It's not, 3 weeks, come up with a map. It needs to be a process that's laid out, and it involves the communities of interest determining their own interests, their own communities, and having their own say. So I would hope that that would go into our recommendations as far as beyond just putting forth a map. So, thank you.
Very, very strong statement and very duly noted. Thank you for that.
Reading through the comments throughout the week, it does seem very overwhelming that maps 3 and 4 are requested to be rejected, and I appreciate hearing from the community. I appreciate the efforts that were put forth from folks on this committee to get the word out and try to get, until I think it was 7 times as many comments that we had after the first one, so this is fabulous, and being able to hear from the community is helpful, because that's really who we're here to represent. That's who the commission's here to represent, and so hearing from them is fantastic. But it does seem overwhelming that 3 and 4 are requested to be rejected, so ought to be considered.
I don't think I have anything additional to add to it. I think Lamont has characterized my comments sufficiently. I'm a former Riversider, former committee man in 607, one that would be split off, and I know that I don't want to say that would be a devastating move for the community, but it certainly wouldn't be a good thing for the community. It's a very strong community, and if we have a community doing all the things right, I don't want to get in the way of what they are doing right. So don't fix what's not broken.
I agree with everyone's comments so far, and I think the comment I want to make because of that is to thank all of you on this committee as well, because it's very rare in politics or government that we have an opportunity to go around a table and agree on what the community said and that we're going to listen to them. And so I want to thank all of you all for serving and doing such a good job, because it is a positive feeling in sometimes a negative environment. And I think that we're doing a good job if I want to pat ourselves on the back. And I would hope that we'd listen to the community, because it's enlightening that we don't have to have a fight, that people's voices are important.
I just want to echo Lamont's comments. They were spot on, and everybody else's comments who has spoken. I'm also from the area. Grew up there, raised there my whole life, and I think the comments definitely echo the sentiment of the residents, and it seems pretty clear to all of us what needs to be done.
Well, man, that was nice. Thank you all. Thank you all for the consideration. We do want to go ahead and get into our discussion that is going to take place under the header of old business on the agenda. And at this time, what we want to have is a discussion of our remaining maps, 2, 3, 4, and 6. We know that there are some issues out there, but just as a quick refresher, if we could have Mr. Jack Joseph guide the committee back through and reorient our minds to what is before us for a vote, I'd appreciate that. And then we'll move into our new business. Mr. Joseph, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I will kind of briefly go over the remaining maps, kind of maybe start at the beginning. I do want to keep it brief. I want to keep plenty of time for discussion moving forward. But I do kind of want to start at the beginning and then work our way down to the remaining 4 maps. Again, back to the beginning. Sedgwick County grew at a growth rate of approximately 5% between 2010 and 2020. This was about 25,000 people. The growth across the county was not equal between all 5 districts. They grew at different rates. District 1 grew at about 6%. District 2, 1.25%. District 3, 4.5%. District 4 grew at 8%. District 5 grew at about 5%. The 2010 population as approved had a slight disparity between districts 2 and 4 as approved in 2010. That percent deviation was over the 1% goal target, which is what we attempted to accomplish during this process this time around. You can see District 2 was 1.2% over the target, and District 4 was 1.3% under. Adding the 2020 census information to the current district boundaries, you can see that District 1 fell within that 1% at about 0.7%. District 2 was well below at about negative 4.7% from the target population for that district. District 3 was pretty close at negative 5%. District 4 was well over at 4%, about 4,500 people over the target population. And District 5 grew at about the same rate as the entire county and was fairly spot on at 0.14% from the target. So I kind of broke this down into two general approaches going into this. Approach number one would be to hit that 1% target deviation with the smallest amount of boundary changes. This, I would say that maps 3 and 4 fall into this category. This is where the shared boundaries of districts 2 and 4 were reviewed, and a minimal amount of precincts were moved to hit that target deviation. The drawback is that that approach is kind of closer to that 1% rather than getting down to the 0, and it also limits the scope of the available precincts that we're able to move to equalize that population. Approach number 2, still the same goal, below the 1% population deviation, but an attempt to get as close to 0 as possible, regardless of boundary changes. So this is where you could look at multiple districts to move precincts from one to the other, and a myriad of ways, many multiple ways to do this. And I would say that plans 2 and 6 probably fell into this category. So starting with, we can go into, I'll start with Plan 3, and it kind of falls under that Approach 1. It does move 3 precincts, again in the Riverside area, but these were the minimal amount of precincts that we could move to hit that target deviation. And I can open the stats here. So District 1 in that plan had a deviation of 0.77%, a little higher, closer to that 1% deviation. District 2 was at a negative 0.76%. District 3, negative 0.5%. District 4, roughly 0.4%. And District 5 has stayed steady at that 0.14%. And the only difference between Plan 3 and Plan 4, Plan 3 are the three precincts here, and Plan 4 moved just a couple, about 100, and I believe it was 144 people to kind of close down that disparity between districts. Between districts 3 and 4. Plan 2, I did want to take this opportunity to review a small correction to Plan number 2. I hope all of you received my email and updated statistics on this, but I did want to go over this small area of correction. At the Park City 11 precinct is kind of a large snaking precinct. At the intersection here, you can see that it almost closes on itself. We are bound to keeping precincts intact during this process. And during processing, this small area just to the east was separated. This little area here had a total of 50 people per the census, and that has been moved and corrected and placed back into District 4. We did review all other plans, and Plan 2 was the only one where this correction was needed. Plan number 1, which is not currently being considered, that was corrected as well. Again, plan number 2 kind of takes that second approach of moving precincts around multiple districts. I won't necessarily go into the details of each and every precinct, but I can be available to pull those up as needed during discussion. Plan number 2, that kind of population deviation statistic that we're looking at, plan number 2 is pretty close. We've got District 1 at 0.03%, District 2 at 0.45%, District 3 at negative 0.26%. District 4 is 0.01%, almost right on target, and District 5 is negative 0.22%. And then plan number 6 is a similar concept, focusing on the multiple districts and
sorry,
multiple.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Going back to that piece that you said was a correction.
Yes.
You said there were 50 personnel that were, persons that were moved per the census data, and that was a miss that you had previously. You moved it back into District 4, is that correct?
That's correct.
Was there any deleterious effect or total effect by making that movement?
No, so it was 50 total people.
Mm-hmm.
And the target population is roughly 104,000 per district. So the total percent change due to that correction is like 0.05% or less. So very minor, but noteworthy.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Joseph, Mike Fessinger.
Yes.
Just make sure I understand. We inadvertently split a precinct, and that was the correction, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
On to plan number 6. Again, this is similar approach to moving the precincts around all the different districts. I believe this one was the closest to the target, where District 1 was 0.03%, District 2 0.03%, District 3 0.09%, District 4 0.07%, and District 5 at 0.02%. I will say that all of this population information was taken from the 2020 census that was collected last year. I will say that the county grows and changes over time, and this information is, a year and a half old at this point. So while we are providing specific numbers, it is a static data set from 2020. So.
Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Just for my clarification, in Plan 6, that does maintain Wichita State University Koch Industries in District 4.
I can pull that up here. Here's the Wichita State campus.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it is in District 4.
And likewise, going up north, just straight north, due north, Koch Industries.
Yes, that's correct.
And when we go south, looking at the downtown area, how does it change? And I am looking specifically at District 4.
Sure.
What's the southern boundary? Because does it still follow the river?
Yes, except for precinct 624. 624 has 497 people. That precinct was in District 4.
Mm-hmm.
That has been moved to District 2. Precincts 103, precincts 320 were in District 2. That's proposed to be moved to District 1. Precinct 301, which is on the east side of the river, remains in District 2. But also includes the precinct right next to it, 302.
Jack, Mike over here. Did I mishear you? You were talking, could you please push the map north again? You discussed those two precincts there. Those were formerly in 4. I think you might have said they were coming out of 2. But they would be leaving District 4 under this proposal.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
Understood him to say that. So I'm looking at the most southern border. What is that street?
Douglas. It's Douglas.
So the most southern border is Douglas now. So nothing goes south, because there was a little jut out south to almost Harry, Lincoln.
The thick white line is the current boundary.
Right.
So 103 and 320.
And 320 are the ones that, okay. They're going over to 1. 624 is going to 2.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
At this point, I'd open it to any questions or discussion.
Okay. Mr. Henry, please.
This might be a question for you, Mr. Joseph. It might be a question for Ms. Cole. And I certainly don't proclaim to know the answer. Do we have a reason to believe that the growth trends that were experienced between 2010 and 2020 would be any different between 2020 and 2030? I know, crystal ball, right? Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's very difficult to tell. To be honest, the planning department would probably have a little better handle on that than I would.
So one of the concerns I have is that I'm not sure that hitting a perfect deviation is maybe should be our goal. Because if they separate, what we saw was 4,500 person or vote difference between District 2 and the next. And are we doing an injustice to District 2 if we don't pad them in the beginning of this process so that over the course of the next 10 years, they don't lose voice?
Yeah, I think Mr. Fessinger spoke on that at a previous meeting, so I'll let him take that one.
Yeah, our position on this was that we weren't going to place a lot of stock in growth potential. My belief is that 10 years ago there was an attempt to do that, which backfired. I think that they baked in a disparity between 2 and 4, which only grew the last 10 years. So I think that when you said crystal ball, I think that you kind of summarized my opinion on this. I mean, it's something that this committee can consider if you wish, but it's not Obviously, it's not a consideration under Kansas law. And again, I just think that as long as you're within the 1%, whether you hit it right on the money or whether you're more at the edge of the 1%, from a legal standpoint, I'd be satisfied.
Follow, please.
Is 1% the standard, or is 5% the standard? I'm not trying to be argumentative, but
I think that 1% sets the county up for a long time on these maps. I think that when you start getting in the realm of 5%, you have to look at an earlier redistricting.
thank you, sir.
Ms. Pine?
Mr. Joseph, could you, on that map, on Plan 6, while we looked at that district, or those precincts that were affected, that Douglas, that line, that other smaller precinct, could you kind of enlarge that so we can see
This
what
one?
area?
624.
Indeed. What area exactly is this included there? I'm trying to.
Yeah, let me turn off some,
What are the street boundaries?
yeah.
The mile
Get
markers.
this. So turn on the aerial view as well as street names there. So Central on the north, St. Louis on the south, Clayton on the west, and then Meridian there in the east. One of the smaller precincts in the area there.
Indeed. Thank you.
Small precinct, a lot of votes, pretty tight.
Mr. Joseph, can you please zoom in on the precincts that are moving from 4 to 1 on Plan 6 in downtown? Can you please share, just so everyone on the committee and anyone watching the public can see, what is within those two precincts that are changing as far as neighborhoods or places of interest?
Sure. So precinct 103, well, Kellogg essentially splits those two precincts, 103 and 320. We kind of jump back and forth here between the map view and an aerial view so that we can better see. North of Kellogg is probably considered downtown. It has Interest Bank Arena, Century 2. South of Kellogg, I believe, is mostly residential.
Thank you.
About that. Do we have any other questions from the floor? Madam Yangley?
I don't know if this is the time to do it or not, but I was just curious because of the comments that Levi was making about the slower population growth in District 2 versus, exceedingly excessive population growth in District 1. I don't think anybody here will argue that District 1 isn't probably going to continue to grow faster than District 2. There's some precincts right on the border. I'm looking at precinct 103 and 320, and I am just curious, for the sake of looking at it, what that would do if you moved those two precincts from District 1 to District 2. How much would that throw off the deviation in Plan 6? 103 and 320.
Yeah, so 103 has a population of 658, and precinct 320 has a population of 1,320. So it's approximately 2,000 people.
Yeah, I know they're smaller. That's why I suggested those two versus something bigger.
Mm-hmm. I can pull open that spreadsheet that allows us to kind of move some precincts around if you give me just a minute.
Yeah, no worries. And I don't think we have to wait for that if anybody else has comments to make. That was something that I think
What one were those?
103 and 320.
That's,
Right on the,
it's mine. I put it up on that. Thank you.
possible to move them to District 2 because they're small. I think it's a flawed assumption to think that District 2 is going to grow at the same speed as District 1. I just think we're going to end up at a place. Yeah. Those are some systemic historical problems with these maps because of the pinwheel design. This might take that little weird hook off from District 1.
Mr. Chairman. I was just saying, plugging that in, please verify. It's showing District 1 would have a negative of 1,950, and District 2 would have a positive of 1,950. District 3, 92 positive. District 4, 76 negative deviation, and District 5, 17 negative deviation.
That may be unfair. I just wanted to start that discussion for the group. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Madam Pro Tem, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to ask about precincts 103, 3, and 320. Are we saying that Intrust Arena, Century 2, that around the river is now in 1, and we're on districts, we're on the map 6. That's what moved to 1, correct?
So looking at Plan 6, Precinct 103 is currently in District 4.
Right.
It's proposed to be moved to District 1.
And then the consideration was moving it to actually District 2, which is what you're going,
Yep.
is, Ms. Yingling, is that what I heard?
Plan 6 does not move that NAFSCR Park interest bank, does it? I think that's Plan 2, is that correct? Oh, it does?
Yeah, that's what that's the point.
This was unrelated to that issue. It's just two other precincts that basically I've considered might actually increase their turnout there, but they're small enough and they're on the border that it might help our south side population growth issue.
Right, okay.
So it's unrelated to NAFSCR Park or any of those other concerns people have.
But you are right.
But I just wanted to confirm that they're going.
They would go to 1.
It's going to 1. And what we were considering, though, it would move it to 2.
Those are different precincts.
I think so. No?
I think that is correct.
I think it's.
103 is not where interest bank arena is. Oh, it is, okay.
Ms.
Yeah, it's here in the.
So do I remember correctly then that Plan 6 is not the most equally divided? So to move those 2,000 people, it's not going to make even a close approach to that 1%, correct?
Actually, I believe that it does. I moved those two precincts to District 2. District 1 is now 2,000 over approximately, and District 2 is approximately 2,000 over. The 1% number to kind of keep in your head is about 1,000. So it would be approaching the 2%.
What about just,
Yep.
can we do just 320 and not 103?
Yep.
Which one's 320?
Directly south.
Just south of that. Just south of Interest Bank Arena.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that changes it to approximately 1,200 for District 1 and 1,200 for, 1,300 for District 1, 1,300 for District 2.
I mean, and I'm okay with other suggestions. I just think it's important we consider at least adding some padding to District 2. The south side just grows slower than the east side of town. So I would like that to be historically. Now that could change, but I would like that to at least be some sort of consideration if we're going to make any shifts, that we think about adding some padding to District 2 and not trying to make it just completely equal, because I don't know that that's equitable.
you're saying that you don't think that it's equitable for,
Over the next 10 years, I think that if it's complete, if we're at a even, where everybody's even, 100% across the board today, historical trends have shown that District 2 grows at a slower rate. So while everybody else grows at the same pace, District 2 is never going to keep up. So what I'm trying to suggest is we add a little bit of padding, so while everybody else grows, District 2 at least can stick with them. And that way, 10 years down the road, we don't have District 2 in the same position it's at today, where it's so... Yeah.
so you're saying not at the limit of the 5%, but somewhere down between the 1 and the 5?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the marker that you're looking at is this 1,300, is that about right?
It's just a suggestion, just because they're on the border and communities of interest would match. 320 is, yeah, they're kind of similar folks that are already in District 2. South Central District is included in that plan, so it's kind of cut out of that.
I would just follow up on that comment. I just would like us, especially with what Mr. Fessinger shared about attempts to address this in such a way 10 years ago, then backfiring without there being a crystal ball and with the ability of the commissioners to come back in a year. It's hard for me. I understand the intention of my colleague on the committee on the suggestion, but it's hard for me to make that decision when there is that option and potential discussions around redistricting in the future, as well as through a different process too.
And I'll just follow up because Mr. Howerton pointed it out. I did not realize that move is actually part of Plan 2. I've just been looking at Plan 6 so much, so maybe we need to look at Plan 2 a little closer, because I had my mind set on 6, but I didn't realize that was part of it until Mr. Howerton just pointed it out.
Yeah, I pulled up Plan 2 for the downtown area here.
Okay. Concerning Mr., I'm sorry, did you have any other comment?
I'd love to hear what you're going to say, and then, yes, I will have a comment.
Oh, I was about to move forward.
Oh, but
Yeah, I was
To
about to go
consider-
back to Mr. Joseph here.
To talk about
and talk
Plan
about
2?
what the part of the agenda that we're on right now, and see if there are any other questions around the horn concerning maps 2, 3, 4, and 6. I think I heard that there was a question on map 2 from Ms. Yingling.
there will be for me also.
Chair recognizes Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Joseph, under the current alignment with map 6, District 4, with 103 moving into District 1, District 4 still has, there still remains land in the downtown area that resides, that will remain in District 4, is that correct?
Yeah, so Precinct 103 and Precinct 320 in Plan 6 would move from District 4 to District 1. Let me turn. It essentially follows Douglas.
Any follow-up, Mr. Anderson? No, sir. No, thank you. Madam Pro Tem?
For the committee's consideration, with the comment that Ms. Yingling has made regarding Plan 2, the challenges that I have with it is that it does, and I guess actually we probably should just go ahead and really take a look at it. But my understanding is that it does move WSU from 4 to 1. And it must maintain precincts 103 and 320 in 4.
Gets me every time.
Could you confirm that, Mr.?
Yes, that is correct. Wichita State does move, in this plan, it moves from District 4 to District 1.
In Plan 2.
In Plan number 2, yes. As well as Coke up north.
As well as Coke.
As well as Coke. What's your concern there?
My concern is keeping communities of interest for District 4 to attempt to maintain it as intact as it is, understanding with Plan 6 that we would lose the 320 and 103 and then 624. I think more favorably reflects and represents the communities of interest for the current District 4. That would be my concern.
Any other discussion in light of Pro Tem's comments? Okay. Seeing none, thank you all for that consideration, and thank you, Mr. Joseph, for the rundown. We will hold you at the ready in case there are other questions. This is something that we really want to get into. As we get into the new business section, we may be calling you forward again, okay?
Of course.
That said, we're going to move forward into new business, which is the consideration and final votes for maps 2, 3, 4, and 6. As we've already gone through them, if you've had your understanding enlightened, I do believe that there is an admin note that the Pro Tem wants to put forward, and I'll turn to her.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just once again for the committee's understanding and consideration, when we amend a map, if we amend any of the maps, it will be viewed as an amended map, so therefore some will consider it a substitute. The current map will go away. I mean, it's still going to be called number 2, number 6, number 3, or 4, but the current map will then become an amended map. So we won't carry maps forward. There will only be still the 4 maps. I hope that is as clear as mud. And if you need more clarification, possibly council would be able to do that. But
Yeah, I think, is that correct?
Yes, that works for me, of course, and also I just wanted to point out to the committee that as we get into this next discussion, it would be my recommendation to the committee to let the modified Roberts rules take over. We've sort of had a discussion that we just had on this item that really was not pursuant to a motion that was on the floor, but as we move into this next item, it would be my preference and my recommendation to this committee that you debate motions from this point forward.
My thoughts exactly. I do appreciate a robust conversation. I think that it's good for the community to see that we're taking this very seriously and airing all of our difficulties with it. That said, at this time, as we move into new business for this final consideration, you understand that we have 4 maps. If you are going to recommend for the body's consideration any new information, a new map, whichever one it is that you are addressing that toward, it replaces. We do not go up in numbers of maps. We're at 4, we'll be at 4. That's what we'll be voting upon, okay? We're not going up to 5 and 6 and 8. That said, the chair will entertain any motions at this time. Joseph Dozier.
Mr. Chairman, I think based on the public comment and reviewing the maps, for the best impact of this committee, I would like to see if there is support outright for one of the maps and for us to focus our discussion on one of the maps. So while I understand there's no perfect map, I would like to make a motion that, and I will further explain it, the reasoning if I can get a second. There are 3 maps with obvious issues and one that builds and addresses those issues. So I will motion that this committee passes Plan 6 as its recommended map and rejects Plans 2, 3, and 4 as its recommended map as a combined motion.
Do I have a second?
second.
Pro Tem, properly second. Motion is moved. Shall we take a vote?
Do you need me to? Oh. All right. Great. I was about to say, do y'all need me to explain?
You may take a vote if you wish, but at this point, the committee is open to debate the motion.
And he gets first debate on it, correct?
That's correct.
That is my understanding as well. Not seeing anybody's hair on fire, I'm going to go ahead and move forward.
It's too late. It's too late. 3 weeks, committee.
Too soon or too late? I don't know, Mr. Rather. I would like to open this up for the committee's discussion. Mr. Dozier, you have first crack.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to take a vote quick, but I feel like we should establish reasons. And some of those reasons were brought up already in discussion. I think our primary charge when it comes to redistricting, both constitutionally and with precedent, is to be mindful of population equivalency, because at the end of the day, in a democracy where by district, if we have uneven or unequal proportions, then there is a dilution of the power of the vote and an onus on unfair onus on representation in some districts. So looking at that as our central guideline, based on what Mr. Fessinger shared, I really like that map 6 achieves a notable equivalency of no more or less than 0.1% in deviation, and a tight range of 0.1% when you look at the range between districts. In contrast, the other 3 maps have range deviations in excess of 1%. Once we've met that threshold, then I think of the advantages of 6 addressing the shortcomings of 2, 3, and 4. For example, serving on District 1 City of Wichita Advisory Board, we often are faced with unique situations between WSU and its most direct neighbor to the South Fairmount neighborhood. And so seeing that Plan 2 separates the representation of Fairmount as with WSU, that's something that I had a problem with, and I see that Map 6 addresses. Moreover, on Map 2, I saw Precinct 413 east of 119th Street. It's moved into District 3. While everything else east of 119th Street but west of the airport is separated. I think that's one unique community west of the airport, west of Tex Consolver, and Plan 6 addresses that. When it comes to maps 3 and 4, we've heard all the overwhelming feedback around dividing Indian Hills and Riverside, and map 6 addresses that. We've mentioned the public comment already. And then unlike other maps we are considering, map 6 doesn't have a deviation of more than 1% between any provided census demographic factor, including race and age. Moreover, while solving the shortcomings of Plan 2, Plan 6 also only affects a third of the population in precinct moving versus Plan 2, and no advanced voting shifts take place under Plan 6 as well. While I know there was discussion about potentially having multiple maps, so a map and then multiple secondary maps, I feel with the remaining 4, and especially the considerations and similarities between 3 and 4, it would be best for this committee, given the process that we have and the time that we have and our platform right now, to come together and work with Plan 6 and pass Plan 6, and maybe even have a little early Christmas gift of us coming together in a bit of a way. So those are my reasons I'm laying out, and I'm happy for discussion. I know that I'm sure I've heard already some discussion around Plan 6, so I open it up, and those are my reasons on why this is the one we need to work with. Thank you.
Madam Pro Tem.
I just wanted to give anyone else an opportunity or a chance. I just simply wanted to second again what Mr. Dozier has laid out expertly. I appreciate the ability to succinctly state what is clear, and I won't belabor it. I think that we've done a great job as a committee. Once again, I'm echoing, I believe, what Ms. Schodorf has already stated. It's been a pleasure. No, it's not over yet, but we have actually been able to do this and still walk out of here smiling and friendly. So this has been, I think, a very not only positive experience within this circle, but also for the public. Thank you, Mr. chairman.
We are one community. Madam Schodorf.
I just want to echo everything that Mr. Dozier said. He said it well, and they're all very valid and points that we should all take into consideration. And I would like to adopt his proposal.
Mr. Rathman.
This side says 6. This side says 6. I have a question.
Move the question.
Question has been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second on Mr. Anderson, or, okay, you're giving it to Mr. Anderson, so be it. That said, let's take a vote on the motion put forth by Mr. Dozier. Madam Pro Tem.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
And Ms. Moore. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Dozier.
Aye.
Mr. Dater.
Aye.
Ms. Stanton.
Aye.
Mr. Priestley.
Aye.
Ms. Pack.
Aye.
Ms. Pint.
Aye.
And Mr. Howerton.
Aye.
Mr. Henry.
Aye.
Ms. Yingling.
Aye.
Ms. Shodor.
Aye.
Chair Penn.
Aye.
And the pro tem votes aye.
With a unanimous decision.
How amazing.
It is so moved and approved
We did that. We did that.
that the map, a map recommended by the ad hoc redistricting committee is map number 6. Thank you so very much for your time. I know that there are individuals who do have to leave. They have some other engagements that are going on. Just so you understand it, under this part of new business, having our resolution, the prime directive, if you will, of our resolution achieved, we are going to continue to discuss any other recommendations that this board will be, this panel will give to the board. That said, as far as the voting goes, I understand if you have to leave, but the most important part of your vote has been taken. So feel free to excuse yourself if you need to. And I would like to open the floor for any other considerations at this time, because that vote that we took did not allow those other maps to be the map or a map. But if there's a feeling of strong recommendation, if anybody really feels that from public comment or that you've heard, 3 and 4 should be recommended. I didn't see that at all. Please, floor. Mr. Henry.
Respectfully, I kind of like where we're at because I don't want to dilute the plan that we've submitted. So I think it's a remarkable achievement that unanimously we've endorsed about for the county commission. So I don't want to, belabor this any more than necessary.
Mr. Howerton.
I just think it's exciting that in our current atmosphere, we can put pragmatism over politics, and I thought it was pretty awesome.
Anyone? Mr. Anderson.
I will say that Martha has eloquently spoke about recognizing communities of interest and making sure that as we move forward, that I hope that the county and the staff and the citizens in Sedgwick County have heard that, because I do think that it is very imperative and important that we understand communities of interest as opposed to maybe relying on secondhand information. So as this process moves forward, I hope that the county really takes that recommendation and really tries to drill down so that it truly understands what communities of interest really means. And I hope that as this process continues along, I hope that the public truly understands the importance of this process and continues to get engaged and make sure that your voice is heard, because if it's one of those things that we always say that if you're not engaged and you're not involved in the process, then you really can't complain, right? So in order for our community truly to be the best that it is, we need everyone to be engaged. So I hope that the community truly looks at this process and this from forward continues to be even more engaged. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Madam Pro Tem?
I'm good.
Good. Well, as we get ready to adjourn, I wanted to thank each of you individually. This is my first time meeting some of you, known a couple of you for a little while. This has been a pleasure. To know that in the environment that we are in right now nationally, state and locally, where you can have passions intempered beyond recognition, that people can come together for the will of the people. What we made a commitment to from the outset was to give as much opportunity for the public to have their say, to add voices into the discussion. We've had some expert analysis given here to help us understand exactly what it is that we are up against in a very compressed time frame. And I want to give the warmest and heartiest round of applause to the staff here, to Mr. Jack Joseph, Ms. Tanya Cole, to Councilor Fessinger, and to their interns. I don't know if they're still here. All right, good guys. We've had everyone from the public themselves directly engaging this process at the behest and request of some very good people, as well as the members of your cab show up. I want to let you know that it has not been easy. No one got everything that they wanted. I will tell you for a fact that is the art of compromise, and in the name of politics, it's the art of the possible. And what has been possible here to achieve in record time has been a unanimous decision to supply to the BOCC. Now, this is an ad hoc advisory board. It is non-binding, but our work is complete. That said, we will get this ramped up and pushed off, And I want to thank each of you and wish you the most merriest of Christmases, health and happiness to all of you and your families. That said, meeting adjourned.
Water, dude.